Hi, thanks for joining us. In this video we're going to take a look at just getting familiar with the forensic desktop component of the S2 ProntoVR solution. Of course, the ProntoVR brings together access and video in a harmonious way, unlike any other type of application we've seen before. Full frame video with incredible integration with access control in a browser. I've logged into our demo site. When I log in, I immediately get taken to our landing page. From our landing page, to access the forensic desktop, in our common user tasks in the top right hand corner, I'll select forensic desktop. In this video, we're just going to get familiar with our surroundings in the forensic desktop. The first thing I like to do, and make it easier to see as well, is to actually pop out our forensic desktop to make it its own full screen entity. In the top right hand corner, there's a yellow arrow button pointed to the top left hand corner of the screen. You mouse over, it says click for full screen. I'll click that now. Now, getting familiar with our desktop in this forensic area, first thing we'll notice is a go-to date in the top left hand corner. This is where we're going to start any of our searching and looking from. We could go back to any point in time. We can select a date, we can use the slider bar to hone in the time, or we can enter it manually. If we wanted to put in a specific time and date, we could do that easily as well, and hit OK. If we wanted to export a case clip, or print an image from a clip player, or change some of our user options, we could do that with the buttons up here in the top right hand corner. We also have additional panes. One of the most recent ones that we've brought with the version 1.2 software is our Scratchpad area. Scratchpad allows us just to save a clip or kind of work on a project without necessarily having to create an entire case for it. We could store several different types of videos in here, and if we decide to later make a case from it and export that, we'd be able to do that very quickly by adding our video to our Scratchpad and saving it to a case, whether we had a pre-existing case or not. You can enable or disable that by hiding or showing. We could even go so far as to hide the activity log as well, such that we only dealt with video. Toward the center of your screen, we have several different tabs and buttons as well. The camera list shows us all the cameras that we have available to us at this time and date that we've selected, as well as a snapshot in and around that time of what was going on. So we're always going to get a thumbnail of what was happening at that camera at the time that we've selected here. Every time we change the time, it should update that shot. There's several different buttons here as well. We can clear the thumbnails. We can show my favorite cameras if we have multiples of them. If we want to show all the cameras on the NetVR appliance, which is a tool for more setup, we can do that there. Or if we have any specific camera groups, we could show those in here. In this case, I might want to see my PTZ cameras, just my internal cameras, or any external cameras I might have. On the cameras list, you can always hit the refresh button here as well too. Secondly, we have our timeline. Our timeline is accessible once we've drilled into a specific camera or an access event that we're going to track. The timeline allows us to start tracking the thumbnails of what happened once we've at least selected the appropriate camera that we want to take a look at. So for instance, we may want to look at the parking lot PTZ camera, and notice immediately after I've selected that, timeline now has turned to red. It went from gray to red. That means we're able to click on it, and it's going to start building a view from 5:20 at 5:15 a.m. until right now of all the different clips of video that have occurred in the solution. We can always stop a search by clicking the X button there, and I could go back to my camera list. Over toward the right hand side of the screen, this allows us to change some of the view options. For instance, I may want to look at that camera, or perhaps the delivery area camera, and I can simply press play to start watching that video in my video window here. But I want to actually get more of a thumbnail view. I still want to start at 5:15 on May 20th in the morning. I've got my delivery area, and that's the camera I want to focus in on, But instead of looking at things in 10-minute clips, I want to look at everything in 1-hour clips. Once I've selected 1 hour, I can click on our timeline, and it will start building a view in 1-hour increments of everything that's happened between then and now in the Pronto. And so we can see as the day progresses, things change in our delivery area. I can stop that search at any time by hitting the X in the timeline piece right there, or I could also refresh it. I could ask it to take a look at all of those clips again. If I wanted to make the view somewhat larger, these thumbnails, so that they're easier for my viewing, I could click on that here, and each one of those clips will eventually re-render themselves so that they will be easier to see. Or I could shrink that size down to a smaller size if that's what I wanted to do. I could also move forward or back in time as necessary from these clips. So if I wanted to go down an extra row and keep continuing to find more clips, I could continue to go down, and you'll see that it starts updating in 1-hour increments, even across days. You'll notice that the days even change. We started on 520 in 1-hour increments, and you can see it switches to 521, and it switches down here to 522. So it's a complete view of everything that happened in 1-hour increments where there was video recorded in this whole solution. We're really looking at 3 days worth of video all at once, and it makes perfect sense. You'll also notice that some frames have a little yellow bar next to them. This frame has a yellow bar, and you'll notice that the time delay between this frame and the next frame is quite considerably more than the 1-hour clip I asked it to. This is mostly to do with motion. We have our camera set up to only record based on motion, and we have it pre-configured for that as well, using our H.264 codec. In this case, there was about a 6-7 hour period between when there was last motion recorded and the most recent motion was recorded. This little yellow bar simply lets me know that longer than 1 hour time period elapsed between this frame and this frame, and that there was no video recorded in between those two. Lastly, on the video screen, as we get familiar here, we can take a look at any one of the clips. Our thumbnail tray here in the timeline that displays all our thumbnails allows us to play those clips. I can select multiple clips by holding down my left mouse button and dragging across all the clips that I want to play. And I can hit play. And the clips will start playing. These are lengthy 1-hour clips. If this video is difficult for you to see for some reason, you can also double click on the video itself and it will pop out into a much larger screen, and we can continue to click play. In the bottom left-hand corner, we also have the ability to play the next video clip. We had multiple selected, so I want to skip ahead to the next video clip. I can click that button there, and it skips ahead to the next video clip and shows us that. And we could keep going through them. The video clips will naturally progress to the next one if we didn't press that button, and still fade in and fade out. In this case, we have a gentleman walking in. It's kind of difficult to see, so what I'd like to do is actually zoom in a little bit. The S2 ProntoVR solution has a digital zoom mode built into it as well. Up in the top right-hand corner, I can say enter digital zoom mode, and it gives me several options. I can just do a single click zoom in or zoom out, or I could draw a rectangle area that I want to go to specifically. I can also have a grab tool that allows me to look around that frame. I'll exit the digital zoom mode. And to exit the full screen view of this video, you simply just double click on it here. And it goes back into that area. If I wanted to print that image, as we saw that button earlier, I could simply hit the print image button in the top right hand corner here. You'll see that the NetVR appliance comes up where we could enter a title etc. And we could print this to a specific printer, or we could print it to a PDF file, and we could save that specific frame. Alternatively, we could mark in and mark out this clip in such a way that will allow us to save it. I could continue to play this clip. And we'll find an individual that comes through. I'm going to pause the video here, and I'm going to mark in right now that I want to start recording from this moment. I'm going to continue to play for a few seconds. See somebody access a door, go to the cafeteria, and door closes. Now that I'm done, you'll notice in the bottom right hand corner we now have the mark out button. This will mark the end of this clip that I wanted to record. So we now have a clip that we've recorded. I've double clicked on the large view finder, and you'll see that the clip that we just created has now been put in our scratch pad. Again, we may not want to use this clip, but we're building a case right now. It may be something I want to add later or not. It's a 9-second clip, and I can click on this at any time, and we could play that exact clip from the time I marked it in to exactly the time I marked it out. I could also save this now to a case if I wanted. I could create a new case and add that video to it, which we'll cover under a separate video. For now, I hope this gives you a good idea of the types of buttons and environments we have with the Forensic Desktop.